My name is Dr. Hayford Adabo, and tentatively I'm going to be your moderator for this evening. Um, as you are aware, this module is to prepare us towards opportunities out there at school and also to help us grab employment opportunities. And so the entire model is to make us ready as employees or as suitable candidates for opportunities. And last week, we learned from Dr. Dia the skills and knowledge that is required for us to really stand out as ideal employees. We learned a whole lot of things. This evening, we are going to continue with one important skill that you need to have to be able to find or to be able to grab opportunities out there. And almost all opportunities, including employment, will ask for a CV. And that is something that we will be looking at this evening. And so at the end of this session, it is our aim that you will be able to draft and perfect your own CV so that you can be fit for most of the opportunities out there. And so this evening we are happy to have Dr. Daniel Kojo Larbi. And Dr. Daniel Kojo Larbi is currently a PhD candidate at the State University of New York. He was a student of KNUST. He pursued Doctor of Optometry. And as far as I remember, he happened to be the president of the Optometry Students Association of Ghana, USAG KNUST. He has a lot of leadership skills, and he has perfected his CV writing. And I believe it was one of those documents he produced to gain admission into the State University of New York. This is going to be the second time Dr. Larbi is speaking on the same subject. The previous OTC we had, he handled the same session. And so this is going to be his second time, and he comes in with a lot of experience. So I encourage you all to please listen, take all the clues that he's going to give us, and then let's make a good CV for ourselves. At this point, I'll gladly pause here and then give the floor to Dr. Daniel Larbi. So, Doc, you now have the forum for yourself.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Adabo. So once again, I want to be clear if something in chat. I was having a few people post, Minerva I saw, said she couldn't hear. I don't know if she can hear me now. If you're having audio issues, just type something in the chat. Otherwise, in 30 seconds, I'll just move forward. Anyone? I don't see anyone typing, so I think we're good, right? That's good. That's good to hear. So Dr. Adabo has given me a very impressive introduction, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. The last time I was here was in 2000, was with OTC in 2019, and I spoke on CV, as he said. I'm currently pursuing my PhD. I'm in my second year, almost through with my second year, and I'll be moving to my third year come August. So I'm almost halfway through. The time has flown by very quickly. I hope that today we can learn something about CV writing, how to produce a winning CV that will get you the CV, the tool, initial screening process. And I hope that what we will talk about will be useful for everyone, not just those who want to pursue academia, but those who have ambitions to go into the corporate world, those who want to become lawyers, those who, or whatever your chosen career path is going to be. I hope that this evening we can all learn something. Okay, and if you have questions, you can put them in the chats. I will look at them occasionally and then we can discuss. I want this to be a discussion. I want us all to learn from each other. So the first thing I want to do is discuss what a CV is not. Sometimes I think the best way to approach any concept, to start looking at what, and there are a few misconceptions about CVs, and I want to start with what a CV is not. So a CV is not a detailed history of your life. A CV is not a textbook. A CV does not have to be a long-winded document. A CV is not an essay, okay? So a CV is not a detailed history of your life. Not everything goes into your CV. That's the first point you need to know. A CV is not a detailed history of your life. Secondly, a CV is not a one-size-fits-all document, which means that a CV has to be tailored for every particular opportunity. So you don't write one CV and you send it to 10 different employers. Every employer does not have to be your black shoes, if I may. So you can wear your black shoe to church, you can wear it to class, you can wear it everywhere, but that's not a CV. A CV is something that changes. A CV is something that's malleable. You mend your CV depending on who you're writing your CV to. I think someone is struggling with audio. Maybe Prince can maybe communicate with the person and help out so that I continue. Okay, I think someone is providing feedback. That's good. The next thing I want to mention is that as people say that a CV, so I hope you understand this. So the things I've written, thing is a CV is not, people think that a CV does not require aesthetics. People think that a CV is a document that does not require some level of beautification. But that's the reason I'm going to read Prince's CV or Hayford's CV is that when I look at it, the format has to be appealing to my eyes. And so if I see a disorganized format and an organized format, and so you need to understand that organization has a certain level of beauty to it. So when I say aesthetics, I don't necessarily mean you should paint your CV with colors. What I mean is that your CV should have a structure. When I look at it, everything should stand out neatly. So even though you have a lot of things on your CV, it should not look crowded. So a CV with so a CV is not a complete timeline of your employment or your academic history. Maybe for a year you were not in school for some reason, for some financial reason, you could not go to school immediately the year after. That's not something you have to explain in CV. In recent times, a lot of people have been taking CVs for granted. And I have had the opportunity to talk to employers, and they tell you how people think the CV is not important anymore. And so they just do something. But maybe a CV is not going to get you certain jobs, but a CV can definitely disqualify you from getting into the interview. Because for most cases, people get interviews because of their CVs. Okay, and if someone is going to pick your CV to read it, it needs to be something he would be happy reading. So these are 5 points I thought it was necessary for us to talk about. These are things that I think people have misconceptions about. People want to write too much on their CV. They want to use the same CV for 10 job applications because they don't want to modify the CV. They don't want to have a good format or a good design for their CV because they think it's unnecessary. they want to include every single point of their life in the CV. Some things that are not even important for that particular opportunity you are trying to get access to. And then some people think that the 5 things I think you should keep in mind that the CV is not. Okay, so I hope that's clear. These are points that CV is not. The next thing we want to talk about is work life, and by course they mean the things that you have accomplished. Okay, so when you translate certain words from their original roots into English, it loses the meaning. But what they mean here is, what have you done that is noteworthy? Noteworthy for the particular purpose for which you are sending it into a job interview. So for example, you want to get employed by an oil refinery. Okay, in the capacity of a human resource person. Your skill as a leader, your skill as a team member in a zone, for example, could be important. That's something you put on your CV. But there are certain things that you can't put on that tall CV. Okay, so if you're looking to work in human resource, your experience in maybe church activities might not be necessary. Does that make sense? So CV is course of life, curriculum vitae. It's a summary document that highlights your academic and professional history. And some of the things you put in your CV is your educational background. Which schools have you attended in the past few years? Okay, and this is important. You don't have to list every grade you completed every school. If you're trying to get employment from your primary school, okay? If you were trying to become a minister or you're applying for a certain government position, it's important to know that you have a degree or you're in the university or you have your WASI of education, not relevant to employers. It's not relevant to the academic board, that is, okay? Most of the time, your most recent to put in there. If you finished university, you put university, and depending on where you're applying to, you can put high school. If you're going to graduate school, you don't really want to put your high school WASI certificate in there. It doesn't make a difference. It just adds up to your CV and makes it look a little bit more bulky. And then you want to, if you are going to put 2 different schools or 2 different institutions that you attended, you want to make sure that the first one is the most recent one and followed by the next one. Okay, so I'll talk about all these in detail, so I will not spend too much time on this slide. You also want to talk about your work experience. You want to have bullet points describing the roles that you held when you were employed at wherever you were employed, whether it was an internship, whether it was a full-time job, whether it was a part-time job, whatever it was, whether it was a paying job, and whatever your position was, what you were responsible for. And if you are responsible for something that is not necessary that you exhibited in your previous work, that puts you in a special position for the job you are looking for, if that makes sense. Then you want to put in your achievement and your awards. Okay, if you were acknowledged for something, you also want to put that in. If you were involved in research projects and publications, so this is for people who want to get into graduate school, you also want to put those things in there. If you have any skills, if you sometimes you put in hobbies, because so I went to Akosombo for high school, and the VRA board, they usually look at people who can do sports when they are employing. So if you have sports as an activity, it becomes an added advantage, because then if they are playing their intersections sports as part of their corporate get-togethers and things like that, they have you. And so those things stand out for corporations like that. So writing a CV is not, like I said, writing a CV is not just putting together everything that you have done in your life. You have to do some research on where your CV is going, who's going to look at you, if possible, to find that out. Okay, and the different personalities. So the more information you have about where your CV is going, the better you can make your CV. You can tailor your CV to the needs of the people. All right, so there's usually a misconception about what a CV is and what a resume is, okay? And what I'm going to give you is the accepted standard of definitions for what a CV is and what a resume is. So a CV is like what I said, it's a curriculum vitae, that's course of life. A resume is a French word which means summary, okay? So CV usually has your certifications, your credentials, your research history. So CV is typically for academic purposes. Okay, so you're applying to school. You are applying for a job that has some sort of academic basis. Of course, most jobs these days do, but if you're applying for a human resource job or you're applying to be a lab tech, if you're applying to be a lab tech, you might need a CV. If you're applying to be a human resource resume. But the most important thing is that a CV can do more than a resume, because a CV can highlight everything in a resume and more. And a CV is usually detailed. So resumes are usually just one-page documents. Okay, one page, you bullet points, you have your competencies. So, for example, you were a chef, and your special meal are banku and tilapia, or fufu and goat soup, whatever it is that you cook. These things come up on your resume as your competencies. So you want your employer to know what you are capable of doing. On the other hand, when you write a CV, you want to tell them you have this certificate from this chef school. Okay, you trained or you apprenticed under this person for this number of years. But also in a CV, you can put in the special decisions that you are capable of preparing. So a CV has that added advantage of being able to give you more. So usually somebody has been employed for a year or 2 or 3, and the person has gained a certain level of experience. The person is most likely to write a resume because the person has a certain level of experience within that field. And so you want to know, your new employer wants to know what you are bringing, what special skill you are bringing. Okay, so you've been employed as a low-level employee in a particular company. Now you want to move up to promotion. You write a resume to another company, telling them that, okay, in the last 5 years, this is what I've done. I have led this team in making this publication. We have promoted this video. We have promoted this product. We have sold this. We have invented this under my leadership. And I think I'm ready to move forward, and I'm bringing this and that. Resumes are applicable for interchangeably, and that's fusion comes in. Okay, but generally in the world, and in the US and in most countries in the world, when they say CV, they mean that detailed document that has your certificates, it has your awards, it has your volunteer participation, it has everything. And then a resume is more specific. It has your accomplished as a worker. Okay. I think I just noticed someone is asking, can you put your JHS in a CV? Like I said, that would depend. Okay, but if you have a WASI certificate, there's no need to put in a JHS, your JSS credentials. But it will depend. If you're applying for a job that you think your JHS qualification puts you in a special position for. So if in your JHS you had some leadership position and you were just a high school graduate now, okay? So if you're a high school graduate now and you have some qualification from JHS that puts you in a special position for a particular position you're applying for now, you can put that in your CV. But the moment you get into the university, JHS, whatever you've had there, becomes almost insignificant. Like I said, it will have to depend on what you're going to do. And if it's something that is higher than JHS graduates, then you don't really need your JHS qualification in there. Okay, it adds up because now you have JHS, then you have SHS, and then you also often ask me, okay, so I'm in the university right now, do I put that on my CV? Of course you do. It's important. That's where you are now, even though you haven't finished. You are a university student. That goes on your CV. That goes first. And then you come in with your high school if necessary. But going as far back as JHS, I will not recommend it. Okay. So how to start? How to start a CV? So this is what most people don't hear. Okay, so the first thing I think you want to do before you write a CV, and I think from Dr. Adabo's information, I gather most of you are very young, and so you are now starting out, which is very good, which means that this message is going to be useful to you. So have a document, get a notebook, okay, where you're going to document every. I think someone's microphone is on. That shouldn't be. Could you please turn it off for me?
Dr. Larbi, can you turn all of the microphone off?
Okay. All right, I did that. Thank you, Prince. So this is what I was talking about. I was saying that you should prepare a document. So this is not a CV. What I'm asking you to write, the first thing to start, it's not a CV. It's just a book, okay? A repository of sorts. So when I say a repository, in a bank, it's a CV-worthy moment. So your classmates, your friends are doing other things with that time, and once you are future employers would like to know about, okay, because they know you are preparing for them. This 2 hours we are having is in preparation for you, is in preparation so that you get ready for the job market. And that's something you need to highlight because it sets you apart. You are part of probably just about 1% of people who at this moment their lives focusing on building that. Trust me, you think you have nothing to write in your CV until you start listing them down, listing the CV-worthy moments in your life. Okay, so when you attend conferences and you are given certifications, okay, when you participate in something, when you volunteer somewhere, okay, when you're part of a group, a small NGO, a small startup that has some community service purpose, that's something you document because that's something that's CV worthy. You're applying to. So assuming you become a member of a marketing company or a company that focuses on branding, or you want to be a company that focuses, you want to be a member of a company that focuses on branding, being part of a zone, being part of outside the classroom is something that is something you learn, something that teaches you how to do that. And ambassadors do, they come together and they brainstorm. Now that's something that goes into your CV. You put in the date stamp, okay? So 2021, March, no, we are still in February, sorry. So February 2021, you or whatever, just write it. And you have a list, okay? And you organize that list into volunteering, into academic awards, into education into certification. So for example, you take a Coursera course, okay, maybe you didn't get the certificate, but you still put it down. You could not afford the certificate, doesn't matter. You still have the knowledge. Okay, or you helped out in the community to build something. You participated on cleanup day or something, or you organized cleanup day, that's even better. So if you're applying to an environmentally friendly company, you tell them you're passionate about the environment. Why? Because you did this. You are part of this group, Clean Ghana or Clean Kumasi, whatever the group is called. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you should get involved and participate in things. Sitting in the classroom is not enough. The things you are taught in the classroom these days, okay? You should get involved. And like I said, most of you are young, most of you are still have a lot of opportunity to do things. So try and get involved. Okay, join KNUST counseling, peer counseling group, join something, organize something, whatever it is that you can do, so that you can put something in your CV. Because if you know how to write a very good CV, but you don't have things to put on that good CV, when I look at it, I'm excited about the format. But when I start reading, I lose interest because yes, you have your degrees, and yes, you have your the person who went to your same school and has your same academic qualifications. Okay, so try and engage in things that set you apart. Of course, things that you're passionate in. And you have to put thought into this, things that get you from A to B. Okay, so you want to become a lawyer, you join advocacy groups. Okay, groups that speak out about abuse and other things. Okay. All right. So we'll move forward. Okay. So this is strange. Give me a second. There's some signings on my screen and I have no idea what this is for. But let's move on. Okay, so we're here. Sorry about that. I don't know where these streaks are coming from. It's disconcerting. Okay. So now that we've spoken about how to start, and I've told you to put away a document that you organize, let's talk about where to start. Someone providing. Is it possible someone said the person did it should visit? Because I don't know. I think it's probably from my side. I have to figure it out. I'm not sure. But for now, let's just move on. I don't want to waste time trying to figure out what it is. My screen is touched, so maybe I might have touched something and it's creating this. But sorry about that. I think yeah.
Yeah, we can still see. So
yeah. I get it. So we'll move forward.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So now you have your repository that I said you should prepare, okay? Now let's assume you have that in your hand. So the first thing you look at is, where are you applying to? So you're applying to TOR, you're applying to Papaya, you're applying to graduate school, you're applying to university, you're applying to work for. Okay, go to their website if they have one. Speak to the administration, call them, find out, is there a recommended format for their CV? Okay, but before you call anybody, check online, because companies don't like people who ask questions that who ask questions that the answers are available on their websites. So go to their websites and figure out if they have a recommended format. Okay, so one thing I can tell you is that most European companies, most European schools, they use the UPass format. That's their standard. Okay, I don't particularly like UPass, but that's what they like. So you find the UPass template. I told Dr. Adabo that if you can't find access to UPass template, I have it downloaded. I can send it to him if you want to use it, and we can go through it for a brief moment to look at the format of a UPass CV template and how to use it. But yes, so make sure you know the recommended format, and then follow the instruction that is provided by your prospective employers. Some people want certain things in a certain way, okay? So if the company, they pick up your CV, they want to know that when they go into the third heading, they are seeing your employment history. When they go into the first heading, you're seeing your skills. Whatever the format they provide for you, if there is a tailor-made provision, you go by that. Before you go about designing your own CV template, make sure that they don't have a template they want. Now, if they do have a template, all you have to do is go into your document, your repository, and pick things and put it in there as they fit for the company. Okay. But in the absence of a restricted format, if they don't have any format, if they don't have any template they want you to use, now you can look at winning CVs. And by that, I mean you take the CVs of your seniors, you take the CVs of your mentors, those who have been there before, those who have done it, and you look at their template and see if you can go by that. Okay, so people have been writing CVs for 100 years, I think, a template. Okay, some people are creative and they want to do that, but you don't have to. So if you have access to someone else's CV template, you can use it. Make a few modifications that are specific for your taste, but largely keep their template intact. That's another way you can do it. So what does a good format look like? So I picked this up from Indeed, one of the top sites that produces CV templates. As there are no legible words here, but what I just want you to see is that things stand out. Okay, so you can see her name, you can see what every portion of the CV is talking about. So a summary, professional history. So the moment I take the CV, I know exactly what to look for. So if I'm looking for what skills you have, I can go to number 5 and I can see it. I'm not saying number your CV. I'm just saying arrange your CV in a very organized manner that I don't have to scramble for information. Your headers should be very clear. Okay? Now your CV should be easy to read, which ties into organization. There should be some chronology to your CV, that your CV should have a certain format. Again, so that nobody's scrambling for information. The people who are trying to employ you, the reason he picks a CV, he cannot see what he's looking for, he puts it away. Okay, so I'm speaking from some experience because my mom worked as HR for 30 years, and I'm working with professors who every day throw away people's CVs. So I have a taste of the working side and I have a taste of the academia side. So I know exactly what these people are looking for, and they're not trying to waste their time. Okay, so they're not trying to look for information that's hidden. You're not trying to be a clever writer. Okay, so if you're top of your class, make sure that's clear. It's in bold. Take that paper and I'm looking at your academic history. I can see that, bam, best student in the class. Okay, you took a course with A zone. That's important. When you put it on their certifications, you write it. You were this and that, and you highlight whatever your position was. You highlight whatever your contribution was in bold. I'm not saying bold everything, because if you bold everything, then nothing stands out. You bold that you were a team member and mentor. So I will show you my CV as the talk goes on. I will take you through my CV as part of the talk, and we can look at how I did mine. You can tailor it to your own fit, but we'll look at that. And then you pick a legible font style and size. Recommended font size is usually 12. Okay. Font type, it's getting tricky. I use Times New Roman, but recently we had a conference and one of the professors was telling me, don't use Times New Roman, pick fonts that don't have serifs. Okay, so the font that I've used for this presentation doesn't have serifs. When you see my CV, I'll show you that has serifs. So if you have letters where the F maybe has a little bend, yes, a serif. Students who sort of inhibits reading ability. Not too much, but sometimes the people who are reading your CVs are 60-year-olds. They don't have the vision that you have, and they're reading your CVs at home under light, okay, at night. So you want to make it as easy to read as possible. And so you want to have letters like this with the flow, not with the T and the E's that have that sharp turns, okay? So you pick Calibri, for example. So I said that your CV, a CV has to have a certain aesthetic value, like a certain level of beauty, but you don't paint your in the advertisement side of marketing. If you're going to go into sectors that require that artistic personality, then you want to show your employers that you know how to make a CV look good. But of course, you don't overdo it, because a good artist will tell you that organization is the first is the first true weapon of an artist. Okay, so if you can organize your CV, you can't put color in it to bring a certain bit of life. To make it different in academia. But if you're going to, the marketing world, if you're going to the art world, they do care about you. Like I said, you have to know who's reading your CV. And I hope these few examples gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So you have to think about it. If you're writing to hardcore scientific firms, they may not need your art. But if you're writing to people who are brand ambassadors, people who are interested in decorations, if you are trying to work for an interior decor firm, you don't want to write a CV that's boring, okay? And you need to have appropriate headers for every section. And by that, I mean, people tend to write educational history. You can write education, there's nothing wrong with that, or educational background. Okay, educational history, it's a little fetched, you know, it's like history, you're giving them the entire story. You're not, you're just giving them a background, the major highlights of your academic achievements. I think Dr. Dabo said he'll be providing some insight on certain aspects of CV. He'll be reviewing CVs if you want. And yeah, if he consults me and I have the time, I might make some input on some of these things. So your CV should be well spaced out, okay? So if you move from one header, so from, let's say in this particular CV, you have 1, 2. So if you're moving from one major thing, if you're talking about your personal information, you're moving straight to your, maybe your personal profile, you want to have a little bit of space. You don't want to jump right into it. You want to leave one line, okay? And if you're leaving one line, you leave one line all through. Be consistent with that. So don't leave one line between your education and your work experience. and then you leave 2 spaces between your work experience and your skills, and then you leave 1 again. Okay, so whatever you do applies. Whatever you do in every head. So whatever section, the rules that apply in one section should apply in all, and it should be consistent and chronological, of course. It makes sense. So if you're writing a CV for a corporation where experience will start with academia, your education and your research history would be the first thing. Good. So I picked a few parts of the CV to talk about, and the first thing I want to talk about is the personal information part. Okay, so this is important, and I've seen this a couple of times. So what you have on your right, on your left here, I hope that's everybody's left. Don't title your CV with curriculum vitae. It's not important of the document and not the person who wrote the document, which is wrong. The biggest thing on the CV should be your name. Everything else is secondary to you. Everything else is supporting you. And so your name is big. Everything else is small. So this is not good. Okay, you look at this, David Gibbons, that's his name. Then his address comes under his phone number and his email. In this day and age, depending on which company or whatever sector you're applying to, you could add your LinkedIn profile address, like your link. You could add your Twitter account if you're going to work for a company that is social media active, your Instagram handle and all those things. You can put all those things there, but under your name, which is the biggest thing. For you might need that, but again, you find out by doing your research, your background. So this is another tricky part of the CV. Personal profile. Personally, but in doing much for this talk, I realized that some people need it. Okay. Sometimes your employer wants to read what you think of yourself. Okay, outside of the hardcore things you're going to write based on your achievements and things that you're going to list in your CV. Your profile. If they ask you to describe yourself when you walk into an interview room, what would you say? Okay, and the trick here is to be specific. Okay, so now if you look at the second example, hardworking, motivated, enthusiastic administrative assistant. Now that's more specific. Administrative assistant, proven track record in business administration, project management. Now you think they are saying the same things, but this particular, you can tell them the teamwork and you're passionate about the environment and all that. So when you want to write a personal profile, your personal profile has to be specific. It doesn't just have to be some descriptive essay about how mature you are and how do you measure maturity. Okay, how do you measure responsibility? You can put those words in there, but if you put those words in there without your actual skills, the actual expertise that you are bringing on board, then the personal profile is useless, because anybody can write that. Anybody can write, I am nice, I am this, but what's your skill? Okay, you are trained IT, you are a trained programmer, and your primary languages are JavaScript, Python, R, whatever, you know, so you include those things in the profile. Of course, some of those things will come under your skills, but if you have it in your profile and someone is just interested in reading profile, you have it there. I would not advise this for academic CVs though. Institution, I will not advise for a personal profile. If you are applying for a job, on the other hand, you could include a personal profile and it could make a difference. You will not lose anything for putting in a personal profile for a job. Okay, and so the idea with a CV is try not to do the things that will take away marks from you and try to put as many of the things that can give you advantages. They may not, but they may. Okay, so but for an academic CV, no, you don't need a personal profile. So I hope that that part is clear. And then education, conversation for questions. So you start with your most recent qualification that you have earned, and then you move back in time. Okay, so you start with, so for example, currently I am a graduate student, I'm a PhD student at SUNY. That's my most recent academic qualification. Then the next one is that I earned my OD from Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and that's it. For me, that's it. I'm not going to add high school or anything else. If you're an OD student, you can put the fact that you are in training as an OD, and then depending on where you're applying to, you can talk about your high school. But if you're applying for graduate school whilst you are still an OD student, you don't need to put in your high school. If you're applying for a job where you think your high school gives you a special advantage, you can put it there. And then be consistent. So when I say be consistent with your dating format, I don't mean your girlfriend or something. I mean with the dating, how you date. Okay, so it's important that I think someone is asking if I can use the audio format. What does that mean? Should I turn off my video? Okay. Okay, so I turn off my video. Hopefully that helps. So please let me know if it's better now. Prince, you said you were having breaks, so you can text me. Then don't go too far back. Okay, depending on what you're applying for. This is what I've been talking about. It's important that we don't go you don't go too far back. And then for academic CVs, you may want to include the title of your dissertation. Okay, so my dissertation was on color vision. And if you see my CV, you'd see that because I was applying for a graduate school, I had to put in the title of my thesis, my optometry thesis. So for those of you who have graduated university, you know that you write a dissertation or a thesis, whatever you want to call it, and it has a title. So if you're applying for school, it's important that you put this in there. That's part of your research experience. Of course, you're going to write it again, but writing the title in your education adds some weight based on what I have seen. Okay. But if you were, for example, you just got out of high school and you were applying for an entry-level employment at any company, okay, you want to work in sales or something, you could include some of the modules in class, some of the courses or subjects or particular topics that you have studied that makes you uniquely qualified for the sales position you're applying for the job title that you want. I hope that's clear. So again, the certification that you have earned should be highlighted in your education. Okay, by highlighted, I mean bold it out. So you write that you went to KMUST, blah, blah, blah. But you write bold letters. And usually with a CV, there's no need to state that you were a first-class student. If it's for job market, you may want to put that in there. You may. I don't think it's always necessary. But for academia, it's not. It's not because you need a transcript. So if a job requires a transcript, you don't need to put in the fact that you're a first-class student. But if it doesn't, and that sells you, you put it in there. Okay, so if you're applying for a job that requires your CV without your transcript, it will be important to state the class of your honors, okay, whatever honors you gained from the university. But if the honors you gained is not going to sell you, so this is not a live thing. Sometimes your CV is meant to make you look good, not to make you look bad. So if you think that a particular qualification you have is not going to sell you, you don't put it in there. It's not lying. So you graduated BSc, whatever, and you had a grade that was unappreciable. You can just leave it there. This is what you graduated with. If they want your transcript, they'll ask. Okay, don't give them that reason. If it's part of the requirement that you indicate the level of honor that you gain, you put it in there. Otherwise, don't sell yourself short. Leave that. Just write that you have the degree and then focus on your strengths. So you're not trying to point out your weaknesses. And I hope that's clear. It's very important. Okay. People sell themselves short on CVs all the time in the name of being honest. But you can be clever about it. Okay, so for the same rule applies for employment. You start from your most recent employment. You describe your responsibilities. This is very important. This is where the problem comes for people who are writing CVs. You describe your responsibility with clarity and precision. So the responsibilities that you undertook. So I'm more familiar with optometrists, but I want to make this more relevant to everybody. So I'm trying to think of a job. So you were a clerk. You were a clerk at a particular law firm, let's say, and you were documenting for the lawyer. You were writing his minutes. You were organizing his briefs. Okay, so you need to highlight these things, but not in long sentences. You don't need to talk about every single thing. So you can put in the organization of his schedule and his briefs all in one bullet point, in a single but powerful sentence, that anyone who looks at it sees that, okay, this is what you're doing. You are organizing things. If you're also running certain useful errands, if you are making calls on behalf of your boss, you can indicate that you were, you can be a little bit more creative about it. You are a communicative liaison for your boss and his associates. Now, no one cares whether you're picking calls as a secretary and telling them, my boss is not there, my boss is there. But it's part of it. It's a job, and it's a very important part, and people underestimate it. Okay, you were communicating for your boss when he wasn't around, and it means that when your superiors are not around, you can handle the place, you can keep the place running. Okay, so that the clients or whatever your companies, the way your company's money comes from, those who are paying your bosses, they don't feel neglected, and you are doing that. But you don't need to describe it in details by saying you were answering phone calls. Then that sells yourself short. So you use the language, okay? You are a communicative liaison for your boss and the clients, something like that. Good. It's important that you don't crowd the space with too much information. That's why I was insisting on clarity and precision. You tailor the roles to what you know to be relevant for the position you're applying. So if you're applying for a job that does not need communication, you don't want to talk about the fact that you're a communicative liaison. If you are applying for a job that requires your organization skills, or your ability to multitask, or your ability to use Excel, you know, you're going to be working in a room just doing programming, your ability to communicate is not so important. So the first thing you want to talk about is your programming ability. So you created a database for the salaries, you created the work schedule the software that they use to schedule people's work and shifts and things like that. You know what I mean, for those of you who are into IT. Or if you're an optometrist, you can talk about the fact that you were documenting patient history, you were measuring vitals, but you write it in simple sentences, okay, so that anyone who looks at it just reads it and figures it out. And then you use the bold function on Word to draw attention to the things that you think are important. Okay, so always know your employer, your prospective employer, whoever is going to employ you, know what they want. Because if they are looking for a business administrator, you are the one who wants that position. And you have gone to school to qualify for it. So you know what business administrators do, and you know what a good business administrator looks like and a bad business administrator looks like. So you make your CV into a document that sells you as a good business administrator, or as a good lawyer, or as a good optometrist, or as a good whatever profession you decide to go into, as a good hotel manager, whatever that's going to be. Okay, this is another tricky part of the CV, skills. So my point here is you only list skills that are relevant. Okay, and in certain places they have a documenting system, but again, this is your own how do you call it, assessment of yourself. You are the one telling them that in terms of optimization of a particular software, you are 4 out of 5 good. So you can use this system, this grading system. So you can use this this grading system, 3 out of 5, depending on your skill set, or you can just write like this, okay? And I prefer this because what does 4 out of 5 mean? What does 3 out of 5 mean? Do we have a universally accepted 5 when it comes to data analysis? What does a 5 look like? So he's saying that he's average when it comes to data analysis, but what does average mean? Okay, so if you are good at data analysis to a certain extent, you tell them what you can do. So maybe you can use this software and that software, and you can do this type of analysis or that type of analysis. Okay, so I'd rather you use a system like this. Okay, so you have customer service, you have good customer service relations, and you talk yourself up. Of course, I don't want you to write sentences. I don't want you to write things like this. The technology part, that's too long. You're trying to keep your CV as short as you can. Okay, and sometimes people have this misconception. If you have a 3-4 page CV, then it means you have a lot of things to put in your CV. But if you just came out of high school or out of university like me or like you, your CV does not have to be more than 2 pages long, ideally. Okay, so there's a way to put all the things you have achieved in your life in such a way that your CV does not look too long. And then the last part I want to talk about before I go into my CV is references. Okay, one of the things people don't take into consideration is you need to talk to whoever you want to put on your CV as a referee, because under certain conditions, they will call them. That doesn't happen very often in Ghana, but here, if you put someone on as a referee, they will call the person. And then you don't want your boss that you worked with 3 years ago, who has completely forgotten who you are, to get a phone call and, oh, this person said they worked with you and they listed you as a referee. Can you tell me something about them? And the boss doesn't remember you. First of all, that's terrible for you, because then it means you are an unremarkable employee. But it's understandable that your boss doesn't remember you, right? Because he has 100 employees and he's just one person. But if you informed him, if you emailed him, if you called him to tell him, oh, you're writing a CV and you put his name there, he remembers. And you can even have a conversation about what position you're applying for, and he knows what to say, to talk you up, because he's also employed people. So you inform your referees, it's important. And you make sure that you are using their most updated contact information, because if you have referee information that is useless, then you put your prospective employers in the bind. Now they have your references and they are sending emails to someone who's not responding, or they are calling a number that is disconnected. Then it means they cannot follow up on you. Then they don't have time to waste to call you and ask you. It's not, they will not waste time to call you and ask you, okay, so can you give us their most updated contact information? It doesn't work that way. And then you choose relevant referees. And by that, I mean, if you're applying for school, you want to use your lecturers. If you are applying for a job, you want to use the places that you did your internship at. Okay, so for optometry students, if you're applying for a position as an optometrist, you want to use as referees the people who have mentored you in the clinic. But if you're applying for an academic position, you want to use people who have mentored you academically. Okay, so you don't put a chef on a CV for academia, and you don't put a lecturer for a CV when you're applying to work in a restaurant. It's important that this is a very important thing. And 2 to 3 referees is standard. Usually, I've never seen people put 4 referees on a CV. Some companies will ask because they want to do background checks, but usually 2 to 3 referees, if they don't mention anything, if they don't give you a limit, stick to 2 to 3. If they have a limit, they may say 2. Okay, then you stick to that. Okay, so this is the format you can use for writing your references. You write the person's name, you write the position they hold, which institution they work for, their phone number, and then their email. Okay, so this is a lecturer, this is a business team leader, and then this is a chef. So this is definitely someone who's applying for a position in the food industry, you know, restaurants and things like that. And again, you make sure, like, the most important thing is that the person who you're putting as a referee knows that I'm the reference on your CV. And if they're not interested in being your reference, find another person. Because if you insist on putting them there, they can mess it up for you. This is important. And these were points I thought you could consider. Okay, try to volunteer. Okay, when you hear that they are volunteering to do this, they are organizing a blood drive and they need people to volunteer to help to organize. Wherever you hear that there are certificate opportunities available, I think it's useful that you participate in things like this, because that's healthy for your CV. Okay, now the world is becoming a more service industry. And so people who love to help, people who have done things to help other people are always given a special advantage. And then certifications and training. So like this, I think you will get a certificate of participation, I'm assuming. But if you hear about things that on campus and things like that happen, if you hear about seminars that they are awarding certificates and you think those seminars might be useful for whatever employment you are looking to engage in, you try to do that. And then try to get hobbies and interests, because like I said, for certain corporations, these things are useful. And then you also need try to work hard so that you get awards. Okay, this could help with academia. Not everybody can get these, but you can get awards anywhere, and doesn't have to be in the classroom. Okay, then you can put this on your CV. So I just thought these things up, and then so these can become whole categories that you can put in your CVs. So this is my summary slide. First of all, I told you that you should build a CV repository. So this is your bank where you have the details of your life, important aspects of your life you want to, you think you might need in a CV. You want to organize this information, okay? Organize everything and custom tailor your CV. It's important that your CV is tailored for your employer. your CV does not have to be the same every time. Get advice. Okay, so as much as we will talk for 2 hours today, it will not be enough. When you write your CV, get advice, talk to someone, and start now. When I say start now, I mean start putting together a repository. I mean start living the life that you want to have on your CV, because people see CVs and they're excited, their jaw drops, but the things they can do to make their CV look as good is right within their reach, but they don't do it. So it's necessary that you start living that life. Okay. So these are the key points if I want you to take away anything from this talk. And then the next 30 minutes or so, we will go through my CV and maybe I'll show you the Europass format. And if you have any questions, we will address that. So this is my thank you slide. Can everyone see my screen? What's this? This is really pissing me off. This.
Yes, Doc, we can see your screen.
Yeah, but you can still see the yellow things.
Yes.
Why is this here? Wait a second. Is it possible for me to disconnect and come back? Let me just quickly see if I can, because it's going to make my next part very annoying. I know you can see, but let me just go for 2 minutes and I'll come back. Okay.
That is fine. That is
okay,
fine.
So I'll just disconnect and I'll come back. Oh, but I'm host, so I can't leave, right?
I think you are a co-host.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please don't disconnect. I think the file is fine. We can still see through the. We can still
it's
see
gone.
through those marks. Yes.
It's gone. It's gone. It's fine.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's good. I think all I had to do was just disconnect and come back. Like, was stop sharing and then come back. It's gone, right?
Dog is gone.
Okay, so you can see my screen. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my CV. So we'll start with the personal information section. Okay, so my name, okay, it's big. Everyone can see. Then once you look at the CV, you see that this is my CV. This is my current affiliation, my institution of affiliation. Is there a problem? Okay, so then this is my phone number and my emails. So this is technically, I just got this email from my school, so I shall put this first because this is my official email now. But I've always used this email, so this is what I think a standard personal info section looks like. Okay, I think everyone can hear me. And then, so my CV is a little bit more colorful than most academic CVs are because, well, I just like it this way. But I showed it to a couple of my current advisors and they think it's fine. So you can add some life to your CV. It doesn't have to be overly creative, like I said. You don't have to go over the top. Okay, so because this is an academic CV, the first thing I talk about is my educational background. Okay, so this is my date format. I always write month and year. Okay, and because I haven't finished my PhD, I'm putting my expected date of graduation here. Okay, and then my institution and the degree I'm expected to. So this is highlighted. So the most important thing here is the fact that I'm going to get this. It's not this, it's not the date, it's not the institution, it's the fact that I'm going to get this. So you highlight that. And then, so the other thing is I have finished this. And so my date is here again. I'm keeping it consistent, month and year to month and year. Okay. And then the degree I got, month next. institution, and then my dissertation title. Okay, so the first thing, my personal info. Then the next thing is my educational background. Only 2 things. I didn't add my high school, I didn't add my GSS, and it was fine. So this is updated. When I actually applied, this wasn't there. This PhD section was not there, or this is all I had for my education section, and it was fine. Okay. Then these are the certificate courses that I pursued. These are the courses that I took online. Okay, again, because I'm trying to get into an academic institution, I put this there. Right now, technically, this is not the best because then research experience should come before this. So again, the CV changes as your life changes. At that point, this is the best I had, and so I put it up there. Everything I thought would sell me for graduate school. And I didn't make the changes that I should have made because I wanted you to see some of the mistakes that I thought I made. Okay, so this got me through, but it's still not perfect because now if you look at my certificate courses pursued, this is the second certificate I got, which is the Understanding Clinical Research. It should have come first. That happened in February, but the 2016 one started. So technically this should go first and then this should come second, okay? Because I am sticking to a format of most recent to past. So it should always be the same. And you overlook these things, but some sticklers will not. So you pay attention to this. Okay, so this is a flaw in my CV. This is a mistake. It was overlooked, thankfully. Maybe because of other factors that I came with, maybe because my transcript or something else. But if you're organizing your CV, you should organize it well. Okay, now because the person looks at this and they think, oh, you got this first, and then you got this second, you got this recently, and then you got this earlier, but then the date is 2018, it's 2016. So yeah, so that's it. And then you have your research experience and your publication. Oh, of course, and I didn't talk about punctuations. The fact that it's a CV doesn't mean grammar is not important. You punctuate, you spell right, you don't make spelling mistakes. Okay. So you may not have a lot to put on your CV, but at least you should show them that you know how to write. So the next thing I put is research experience. And so I wrote all my projects. I'm not going to talk about them, specific things, but you can see that it's just 1 sentence. Okay, just 1 sentence. 1 important sentence. And sometimes if you were supervised by someone, so in your case, if it's your work experience that's here, you can talk about the particular job involvement. I have my work, so we can talk about that. But for those who are trying to get into graduate school, this is a good format. Okay, you can talk about your involvement in research projects, and then you can talk about your publications, all under research experience and publication. So you can use my headers if you want. Okay, because these are, I think, pretty good headers. Okay, because if someone comes here, they know exactly what they're going to look at. They're looking at my research experience and my publications. So currently, these are my publications. And then importantly, if you're putting publications, for those again who are interested in academia, if you're putting publications in a CV, you should use the same referencing format. Okay, so just use either EndNote or use Mendeley to give you the same referencing format, irrespective of journals. Okay, then so here you see that there are a number of authors, but I've highlighted my name because I'm the only person that is important right now for this particular CV. Okay, and then you have awards and recognition. Then you highlight what's important. So this is a sentence, but what do I want them to see? This is a sentence. What do I want them to see? That. This is a sentence. What do I want them to see? This. So this is important because we are in AZO right now. So I'll talk about this part because I put this in my CV. And when you talk to employers, you talk to academic boards, they are not only looking for people who have done well in school, but people who have lended themselves to community service, people who have lended themselves to making the world a better place, because you are going to become an alumnus of that particular institution. And they want to be sure that you go and make the school proud. And so if you are interested in participating in things like what we are doing, like A-Zone right now, it means you are interested in capacity building. It means you'll be standing in front of more people and you'll be telling more people that you so some of you had never heard of State University of New York, but today you know SUNY because of me. So you can understand why having this on your CV is useful, because they know that you're going to sell them. They want more people to apply. They want more people to know their school. And so if you are that kind of person who is in front of people all the time, it means you're going to talk about what you do. And it means you are inevitably going to talk about their institution. And so they are more likely to take you in because of that. So if there's a deadlock between you and another applicant, this could break the tide. And I'm not joking, for real. Okay. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Adabo for giving me this opportunity when I did this talk. So yeah, and I was also president, like he said, for OSAG, which was a good thing to add. So here, I think I have the order, right? The most recent, and then it went from there. Okay. Another thing is you want to keep your CV in such a way that on this, you want to keep this here. You don't want this to run, this particular section to run onto the next line. If it's possible, if you can manage it such that at the start of a new page, you are starting a new section of your CV, okay? So for someone who is applying to work for Confanochi as an optometrist or a particular job, this work experience thing would have come up way before all the things that I wrote. Okay, so the format is not set. So the sections do not have to be in the same format all the time. But for me, work experience was really low on the scheme of things that were important. And so I put it on the second page. All the things I wanted them to see on the first page are here. And then work experience. So for those of you who are going to write CVs for companies, for jobs, this is very important. So again, we stick to this should change, okay? Because when I wrote this, I was still a TA. And so I should change this. But then again, you put in the dates as consistent as you can, month, year, month and year. So my job title, okay? So you see the format, job title, institution of affiliation, and then your responsibilities. Okay, so I didn't write everything that I did with my patients, but I just wrote I attended to patients in the clinic. Then I assisted in teaching. And so this could look in any format for you. If you were in the kitchen, you were in the assembly line or whatever it is, you find a simple sentence that describes what you can do. Yeah, I'll address the questions at the end. I'm seeing a lot of questions pop up. So this is what my work experience section looks like. Again, when you look at it, you see the things that I've done, you see when I've done them, and immediately you can skim through the things that I did, the responsibilities that I had very easily. So this is the format I was talking about. The font, okay, is Times New Roman. So if you look at the T, you can see that it has edges, okay, and apparently, okay, from what I'm getting, from what the feedback I got from some of my professors, this Times New Roman font may not always be the best. Okay, so if you stick to Calibri doesn't have, so if you remember my PowerPoint, if you look at the texting, the chat room, the font that they use, it doesn't have this, the edges on the T, the edges on the H. That's a better format. That's a better font, sorry, font type, font style than Times New Roman for a CV, because it does not reduce visibility. So I had to edit my CV. I guess that's the point I'm making. But this was still good to get me into school. So this is my work experience. Then I had my community service. And again, I put A-Zone there, if you can see, because I got a certificate from A-Zone, and so I put it where it was supposed to be. But it was also an active community service because I participated and we facilitated seminars for career development and things like that. And so I also put that there. And I highlighted it. I put it in bold. Okay, so my role in every one of these community service participations, I put them there. So team leader, organizer, volunteer, team member and mentor, team leader, you know, everything that you did, you highlight, okay? Because they will not read everything. So he looks at community service and he sees that. And you have something to show, okay? And then again, because I was going to school, you put in the skills that are relevant. Okay, you're going to be writing a lot, so you have to know how to use the Office suite. You're going to be using Excel and stuff. Again, so I was told that this is repetitive. I have Excel here again, and I've written Microsoft Office suite. But my argument is that Excel can also do data analysis. People use Excel for entering information. People use Excel for data analysis, but depending on which school of thought you come from, if I put Microsoft Office suite here, I shouldn't put Excel because Excel is part of that. And then I wrote the other things I know how to do. And if you are going to a foreign country, it's important to tell them that you know how to speak English well. Because I think everyone here knows how to speak English well. Okay, so these are my references. So again, name, institution, phone number, email. Name, institution, phone number, email. Consistent. Name, institution, phone number, email. Consistent. If you have alternate emails, you put it there so that in case one doesn't work, the other works, and make sure that everything is updated. So minimize this a little bit so that you can see the CV. Yeah. Yeah, so this is my CV. And I think you can agree with me that's well organized, I think. Yeah, so I just wanted to take you through my CV to see a practical example of what the things I've been talking about, you know, being precise, being concise, being selective about what you put in your CV, being careful about your editing, you know. So yeah, that's it. And then I wanted to show you the Europass template. I hope you can still see my screens. My throat is starting to hurt, so we will run through this Europass template. So this is a template for European Union for schools in Europe, like schools in Germany, schools in England, Oxford, Regent. You need Europass CV. The reason I don't like a Europass CV is it's not very good for academia because you have to put in a picture, and people in academia really don't like people putting pictures in CVs. But if you follow the template, it gives you everything. So here you put in your first name and your surname. Here you put in your address. Here you put your phone number. You state your email address. If you have a personal website, you put in the link. If you have some messaging accounts, you can put the information there. Sometimes they will require you to include your sex, your date of birth. Like I told you, Europeans really like that. And if you are from a foreign nationality, you put that in there. So this is a work CV ideally. Then here you put in the job title that you're looking for. So if you want to become a graduate student, you put a graduate student. If you want to become the HR, you put in there. If you want to become the IT specialist, if you want to become the teller of the bank, if you want to become whatever position you're applying for, you put a job position here. Okay, and this section is for your work experience. So you do that here. Then, so this is more of a work CV, unlike mine, which is an academic CV. So you see that the organization is a little bit different. And then you have your education and training, which comes after your work experience. And then your personal skills. So this is that grading system they have in Europe. Okay, so here you have your mother tongue, you write it here, and then the other languages you speak, and then you grade it according to your understanding, your speaking, and your writing skills. And the grading system they use, they have A for basic, B for independent user, and C for proficient user of the English language. So here I would have used a C1 or a C2 as the grading system, and this is what Europeans like. okay? And then you talk about your communication skills. The good thing about UOPA's CV is you can change this, okay? This column where you have the headers, you can change them, okay? And you can put in the details as you please and as you move forward. Your job-related skills, your computer skills, your other skills, sometimes they may need you to put in your driving license category. If you have publications, if you have done presentations, if you have projects, you've been to conferences, seminars, you have honors and awards, memberships, and your references. Okay, so this CV covers basically everything. Like I said, I'm not a fan of this template, but it seems to work well for a lot of people, and Europe has adopted it, and so you can use it when you are applying for something in Europe. Okay, I think I can stop here, and we can address some questions. Friends?
Yes, Doc.
Can you help me with some questions?
Yes, I have compiled the questions and sent them personally to you, so you can answer.
So it's my chats?
Yes, it's in your chats.
Okay. So questions from participants. Okay. Should you make your referee aware that you have used him or her on your CV as a reference? Yes. Very important that you do that. Okay. Like I said, some companies, some employers would like to reach out to your referees. The point of a referee is, can the person reference you? Can the person recommend you? So that it's not a decorative feature. Can they contact someone who can talk about you, about your qualifications for the particular job position? Okay, so that person has supervised you, mentored you. You have to have a relationship with that person, otherwise you don't put the person in your CV, and then you tell them. So yes, do you have to? Yes. You should make your referee aware. I think I said that at some point. Please, we attend seminars that they issue you certificates, but it is relevant to what you're applying for. So can't I add to my CV once I have a certificate for that? I don't think I understand the question. Is it irrelevant or relevant? Okay, so I'll try and answer both sides.
Doc, I think the person is trying to ask whether a seminar like this, can he or she add it to
a CV? Of course. You saw my CV, right? Mine is there. My participation in AZON is on my CV. So yes, the answer is yes. A seminar like this particular seminar can definitely be put on a CV, or any CV for that matter. There are certain seminars, for example, if you went for a bead making seminar and you learned how to make beads and they issued you a certificate for making beads, if you are applying for graduate school and you are going to study computer programming, that certificate might not be useful, because bead making is a very special skill. So putting your bead making expertise on a CV for which you are trying to get into university to do some mathematical research might not be necessary. If you don't have anything to put on your CV, you can put that at the end, but it's not something you highlight. I hope that answers your question. Do financial awards help in academic CVs? If you want, yes. If for example, so there was a travel grant for DCERF, a certain group that gives travel grants to people to travel is money. Okay, so if you want it on merit. So you can't put a financial award. If someone give you money for, you want to do local and someone gave you money, that's not something you put on the CV. But by financial award, I mean you were given a grant, you were given a scholarship because of your intelligence. You were smart, and so they are picking brainy students that to sponsor who don't have the means or something, or you do have the means but they still want to give you money anyway. That's something you can put. You won that award. Okay, you don't necessarily have to say that it was a financial award. You could if you want to, but yes, you can put it as a scholarship. So you won the scholarship to do this, a financial scholarship for this particular purpose, for this particular event. So financial awards, yes, can be useful for academic CVs. I'm seeing more messages. Yeah, someone is asking if we can have access. Yes, I will send the template in my CV, yes, to Dr. Adabo after this. So yes. You can have my template. You can have the Europass template too. I will make that available to Hayford. Dr. Adabo, sorry. Last week, the facilitator said we should add a cover letter when writing a CV, but Doc, you didn't mention it. Yeah, so cover letters, I'll talk about cover letters next week. That's why I didn't mention cover letters this week. So next week, I'll talk about cover letters and formal emails. So yes, cover letters are important. For academic CVs, no, but for other jobs, yes, cover letters can be really useful. And so next week we'll look at cover letters and how useful they can be for CVs. Okay, so cover letters just add more, they pad it up, they pad you up. So it is useful. Last week the facilitator said we should, yeah, okay, that's the same question. Any more questions? Please, does the referee need to be only employers? No. If you are applying for a job, yes. If you're applying for a job in industry, if you're applying for a job in real estate, if you're applying for a job in a hotel, your referees have to be someone in a position of authority. Okay, so let me make this clear. It doesn't always have to be employers. It can be someone who is not. If you've never been employed, then you don't have employers, so you cannot use employers as your referee. But if you've been employed, admittedly, you should use them. But if you don't have previous employers, you can use people in position of authority. So if you have teachers who can speak on your behalf, so these are people of authority who have seen you under supervision. Okay, so someone who has ever exerted authority over you, ideally someone in a position of power, not your high school senior, someone in a position of power and authority who can speak on your behalf and objectively, okay, make a reference for you, objectively recommend you, then that person can be a referee. So usually you don't use your parents as referees. You don't use your friends as referees. You don't use your high school mates as referees. You can use your teachers. You can use, if you did an internship, your supervisor can be the person doesn't have to be your employer. Okay, but the point I'm saying is your referee has to be someone who has supervised you before, who has been in a supervisory capacity, and the person has to be in good standing currently, okay, for the person to make a reference that is useful. I'm going back to see some of the questions. Is it advisable to add both the writing and the grading system? You go with one. Okay, so if you're going to write the skills you have and use sentences, use the sentences. If you're going to use the grading system, use the grading system, but don't use both. Okay, then if you, so for example, you have the, let me look at this. So for example, you have one part, you have the grading system, and then you have the writing system. No, it's tricky. Just stick to one. Okay, find a way to use one system to tell all the to tell the employer whatever you want to tell them. Okay, I think there are new questions at the bottom. We can include projects. Can we include projects and programs we attended but don't have proof of? Putting pictures on CVs are tricky, so I will not advise that you do that. Okay, but yes, you can include projects. Okay, and if you have the projects and programs that you attended, but you don't have proof of, that's where you can use a reference. Okay, so if you have a referee who, you have someone who was there to supervise you, someone who knows that you did this particular project or program, but you don't have any certification of, you can put it in your CV, but you put a reference. Okay, you put a referee there that can make that case for you. I hope that answers that question. Can we have certificates awarded to us at high school? For graduate school, no. Sports certificates, leadership certificates, not for grad school. For certain job opportunities, like I said, if you're going to work for corporations that engage in these corporate sports events and things like that, a sports certificate can be useful. Leadership certificates, yes. If you don't have a lot to put in your CV and you think that the leadership certificate is going to sell you, you can add it. Okay, so the question is, can you add it? Yes, you can. Okay, you will not lose anything for adding it, and hopefully it might make you a more desirable candidate. So yes, you can add your leadership certificate. Sports becomes a little tricky. It has to be tailor-made. If you put in a sports certificate, it has to be useful for the particular institution that you're going for. Okay, so someone said they have a deadline for cover letter. They have an application and it requires a cover letter. So yes, I can do that. I haven't put together everything I want to, but I can do that. The next question is, should you attach your picture on your CV? So I showed you the EOPass format, right? It has a space for a photo. So some CVs can use photographs. I don't personally like it. If you are doing academic CVs, no. For some job applications, you could. Please find out if it's not a requirement, don't do it. I guess that's the good answer to give. If it's not a requirement, don't do it. Certain industries will. So certain industries, they depend on their employees to look a certain way. And so they would require you to put in a picture. Okay, so if they require a picture, you put it there. Otherwise, don't. If it's not a requirement, don't. It's almost like you're trying to sell yourself too much. And I based on the people I've spoken to, based on the experts that I've communicated with, pictures are not really a good thing on CVs. So I have a few. Give me a second. I want to pull up a few things on cover letters. Someone asked about cover letters. The person is going to write. I'm trying to find some of my one document on a cover letter, and then I'll be. So let's go. So I'll share my screen again. Okay. So cover letters are written to.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you please hold on with the cover letter? Maybe some more questions on CV and save the cover letter for next week or with it.
So the reason I was going to touch upon it was so I can send you this so you can give it to the person who asked. She was asking, she has a job interview 8th. Oh, and I think our next thing is on 6th, and I don't know if that will be pushing it too close, but yeah, if you say I should hold on, I will hold on. So let me see if there are more questions. Oh, so someone is asking what. Yeah, my bad. So I keep saying academic CV, and I don't think I did a good job of explaining what an academic CV is. So an academic CV is like mine, what you saw. So where the focus is on your academic achievements. Okay, so an academic CV, the first thing you see is the person's educational background. So if you're applying for graduate school, you need an academic CV. If you're applying to become a lecturer, you need an academic CV. If you're applying for a position as a researcher, if you are trying to work in the sciences or in this or in academia, if you're trying to work in anything academic, okay? Teacher, lecturer, researcher, anything around science. So you're going to become a doctor, and all those things, you need an academic CV because those things are considered hardcore academics, okay? But if you're going to work in the job market as a business admin, you don't need an academic CV because you're not going to be an academia. You're going to be like an employee. You're going to have different. They have different expectations for you, so you don't need an academic CV for that. So that's a normal work CV. So academia is a little tricky. So like I said, my CV if you're applying to be a business consultant, you don't need to put in your publications like you saw in my CV. That's an academic CV. Okay, so my CV is a typical academic CV. So for graduate school, for PhD programs, for research and all that, that's what an academic CV is. I hope that answers your question. How does the political position affect your CV? For instance, if you're applying for an EC chair and you have experience as a particular party, can that help you? I don't understand the question. But how does political, so if you watch a number of the vetting processes, when they read people's CVs for political positions, the CVs are detailed, very detailed. So they want to know everything about you because, again, they want to reach out to every person who has been in your past. And so they go as far back as possible. But I don't think I really understand the question. Political position affect your CV. If you're applying to become an EC chair and you have experience as a particular party, Prince, can you help me? I think I'm lost with that question.
But I think they are trying to find out whether their position in politics can contribute to their CV writing. What they mean is that if they have a position maybe in college or something like that, maybe they can.
Prince, you're breaking. Prince, can you hear me? Okay, but I'm going to try to answer this question. I think I got what Prince was saying. I hope everybody can still hear me. But yes, if you have a position in school, for example, you held a particular position like I did as an OSAG president, that can further your cause for a political position. Okay, so you know the history, like people who have been hall presidents, people who have been people who have held political positions in school, they usually can translate that into real politics in the real world. But I don't see the connect the EC chair. So if you're an EC chair in school, that can help you with politics in the future. Of course, definitely can. It's not the only thing, but it can. Politics is a little tricky in Ghana, so I really don't like to comment on what can get people in politics because sometimes it's all about who you know, and your CV may not exactly play a role. But in other places, yes, what you have done as a student can make a difference. So please, on the academic CV, should be solely, no. Richard, if you saw my CV, it's not just academic. So the things that I did with A-Zone are not purely academic. The things that I did volunteering, working in the clinic are not purely academic. So academic CVs are not purely academic. The thing is, you don't want to flood it with things, with too many things that are non-academic. The focus should be on academics. But if the academic portion of your CV is not too strong, then you can back it up with other things, okay, to show that you are dedicated, you are hardworking, because that's the whole point. People want to see that you are willing to work on your CV. That's the most important thing. So academic CVs are not solely academic; they have other aspects as well. The next question is, what is the recommended length for a CV? I recommend 2 pages. If you can organize everything to 2 pages, yes. Again, if you have a lot of things, so there are people who have a lot of publications. So I have professors who have 4-page display my CV. Look at my 2-page. Okay. Systems programmer in an academic environment. Godwin. What's the question? Yeah, we'll round up, Prince. Godwin Osei Wusu Ajiman. I don't think I get your question. You haven't asked me a question. Godwin, systems programmer. So you're not trying to become okay, I'll try to answer your question as best as I can, okay, without some of the information that I think I would need. So what you're trying to do, you're not trying to get different certificate. You're trying to get a systems, you can become a systems programmer, let's say in KNUST, for example. What you're not going to get a master's, you are not learning or anything. So you don't necessarily need an academic CV. What you need is the work CV, okay, an industry CV. If you are trying to become, if you're trying to get a master's, you might need an academic CV, but you don't need an academic CV for this. What you need to do is to have a CV that shows your work experience, okay? What you can do as a programmer. That's where the focus should be. And not what you've had. Okay, so to answer your question, you want to go with the industry CV as you put it. Okay, so the work CV, like the UPass format kind of CV where work experience is highlighted over education, but you don't also want to downplay your education because the job you're applying for requires hardcore academics, okay? You'll be working mostly on computers and stuff, and so you also need to show them that you can. But if you have publications, you don't need to add that, okay? So you need more of a work CV than an academic CV for the job you're applying because this is a job. It's not, you're not going to teach, you're not going to write papers, you're not going to publish, you're not going to do research, you're going to work. And so you have to show them that you're a team player, you have to show them that you know what you know how to do. And so you should focus more on your work experience region, okay, to highlight the things that you are capable of doing. Your skill set should also be highlighted, okay? So your skill set will come above some other things. Your skill set will go up above your community service if you are following something like my template. Okay, but you should also not neglect awards and recognition because systems programmers require that sort of, you know, level of aptitude. I think someone asked me to display my CV. I don't know if they're okay with it, but I will make it available. Now these colors are coming up again on my screen, but yeah, I'll make my CV and the UPass template available to Dr. Dabo. He can make that available to everyone. Okay. I seem to be having some virus problems. Someone is asking what makes a CV different to a resume. I think I did that in the beginning. So CV, so this is the last question I'll answer because Prince said I should round up. So CVs are like mine. So you have credentials. CVs are longer, okay? So you have your credentials, your research history, your background, your academic, and your scientific history, okay, and it's more detailed. Resumes, they highlight your competence. So for example, the guy who was asking about systems programming, okay, the things you have done, if you have worked before, if you have done an internship before, what tasks did you do? What goals did you accomplish when you worked there? You highlight these things. That's a resume. So resume is a summary. So resumes are usually just 1 page long. Okay, in 1 page, you describe to everyone what you are capable of doing. Okay, so the focus there is work experience. The focus there is your competencies and your achievements. And the focus there is your skills, your skill set. I have to look at my PC. I think I'm having various problems, but yeah. I hope that answers the resume question. Okay, I'll answer these 2 questions quickly and then we go from there. When sending your CV via an email, should it be captioned? We'll talk about formal emails next week, but when you say captioned, I'm assuming, do you caption the email or do you caption the document? If you mean captioning the email, absolutely. But again, don't title your CV on the first page of your CV and write curriculum vitae, okay? Anyone who is employing knows exactly what document they're looking at. So you caption the email, yes, but you don't caption the actual document. Okay, so by captioning the email, I mean you put in a subject. You know what the subject part of an email. Again, we'll talk about that next week. Should it also be in bullet form? What do you mean? Should what be in bullet form, Richard? Yes, if you mean specific skills and content, yes, they should be in bullet form, like I did with mine. So you don't write essays on your CV. You don't write flowing sentences on your CVs. Everything has to be bulleted. Very important. All right. I think that's about it. If you have more questions, you can email them to Prince or Dr. Adabo, and I'll see if I can answer them. I'll email responses to you as and when. The girl who has the problem with the cover letter, I will address. Yes. The resume should be bulleted, yes. Yes, the resume should be bulleted. Where should you volunteer as a statistics student? Depends on what you want to do after school. Yeah. You can teach math to high school students. You can volunteer like that. But again, like I said, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to go more into the work environment, you should help people with writing programs that help them analyze data or coming up with shortcuts for data analysis and things like that. I don't know what you do specifically as a statistician, and I don't know what your career goals are, but you have to figure out what that is and then find volunteer opportunities that may open doors for you to that industry. But teaching is always a good step if you're trying to get into graduate school. But I don't know what statistics industries they are, and I don't know what happens. Oh God. Yep. So I think, oh, you want to be a data analyst? You probably know more about the industry than I do. I don't know much about the data analysis industry, but especially in Ghana, I don't think I know much. But you can volunteer with, math support groups, things like that. I don't have a very good answer for that. I'm sorry. You should talk to your professors, your superiors, find out what you can do as a statistics student, because I don't think I have good answers for that. I think we should be wrapping up. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Dr. Adabo for hosting me and for giving me the opportunity to share my little experience with you. I hope it has been useful. I will provide the CVs to him and the PowerPoint in case you want to brush up on any facts. If you have any contentions, again, you can email him and he'll reach out to me. So thank you for your attention. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear any of your voices, and I wish I could. It would have been more interactive. I had to read your texts, and that's not so much fun, but yes, this has been good. So thank you so much. And I see the comments, I appreciate them. So.
Hello, Prince. Hello, Prince. Okay, so Prince is with us again. And then on behalf of AZO Network and all participants of OTC, I would want to appreciate you, Dr. Daniel Larbi, for that insight you have given us this evening. We pray that God strengthens you and give you more knowledge so that the next time we call on you, you will do more than you have done today. But we really appreciate you for your time and knowledge. To everyone who made it here this evening, we appreciate you as well for coming. We believe that you've learned something, you are going to practice and definitely stand out there. A quick announcement. Doc made mention that AZONE will be reviewing your CVs if you want. And so if you want your CV to be reviewed, kindly send your CV through email, only email, don't send it via WhatsApp, to edwazone@gmail.com.
Okay.
EDUAZONE@gmail.com. edwazone@gmail.com. EDUAZONE@gmail.com. And you are to do this from now till next week. And at Stanford University, you have exams from Monday, and so we are going to add one more week to it. And so until the last session of this module, please make sure you send your CV if you only want it to be reviewed. We appreciate you all and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.